Inmate Handbook, Camden County Public Safety Complex, Sheriff James K. Proctor. Introduction. You are currently an inmate in the Camden County Jail. You are brought to the jail after an arrest or after being bound over from one of the county's municipalities or as the responsibility of the Camden County Sheriff. Your stay in the Camden County Jail depends on the actions of the Camden County court system. You have been provided this handbook as a first step to inform you of what is expected of you while in our facility and provides you with the information about the operations of our facility. The rules and regulations herein contained are intended to provide the standard of behavior at this facility and will apply to all inmates. Following the rules will help ensure your safety, sanitary living conditions, fair treatment, and protection of your constitutional rights. Introduction continued. Failure to obey the rules is cause for disciplinary action. The corrections officers will not be able to tell you anything about the progress of a case through the courts, answer any legal questions, or give any legal advice. Rules and regulations are subject to change at any time, and you will be given ample notice in order to comply. Inmate rights and privileges. A right is something to which you are entitled. Rights are generally determined by law. Rights include safe, clean, and sanitary living conditions, balanced nutritional diet, access to courts, attorneys, and legal materials, right to religion, communication with family and friends via mail, except victims of your pending case, disciplinary due process, adequate medical services, time outside your cell for recreation, a privilege is a benefit granted by the detention facility that can be lost due to poor discipline, failure to obey rules and regulations, being a security risk, or in emergency situations. Privileges include attendance in programs, access to and use of the inmate telephone system in the cell blocks, visits with family and friends, no contact visits allowed, and no exceptions, purchase of commissary items, and television. Inmate responsibilities. You are expected to follow staff orders or requests, respect detention facility property and the property of others, maintain your assigned cell and day room in a clean, orderly, and sanitary manner. You are not to be in a room that you are not assigned to. If you are assigned a cell downstairs, then you have no business upstairs. Those assigned upstairs should not be downstairs unless they are in the day room. Maintain personal, daily hygiene. Conduct yourself in a responsible manner. Treat all staff and other inmates with respect. Comply with all rules and regulations of this detention facility. Refrain from any type of sexual harassment. Sexual harassment includes, but it is not limited to, unwanted sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical contact of a sexual nature. Indecent exposure, placing or showing sexually explicit pictures, cartoons, or drawings where they may be visible to any person. Admissions. During the intake and booking process, each arrestee will be required to provide current and accurate information for personal identification and proper completion of all forms and reports. Relinquish all items, monies, securities, and personal property for inventory and secure storage. Cooperate fully in the preparation of personal health screen and medical history forms. Submit to appropriate identification, search, and hygiene procedures. Acknowledge receipt and understanding of the Inmate Handbook All social telephone calls may be monitored in the interest of safety and security of the detention facility. Detainees and inmates are not entitled to, nor should they expect, the same degree of privacy as that of the general public. Money. At the time of the booking intake process, your personal property will be inventoried, examined for contraband, and secured in the property storage area for safekeeping. Any money on you at the time of your arrest will be deposited into your inmate account. Any outstanding debt owed to this facility from any previous incarcerations in our facility will be deducted from your account. Upon intake, you will automatically be charged $4 for shower shoes and $1 for a new inmate kit, Hygiene kit, for a total of $5. After you are booked into this facility, only money orders received via mail or cash will be accepted for deposit into your commissary account. Personal checks will not be accepted. Funds in your commissary account may be used for the posting of your bond, your commissary purchases, your medical costs, and the cost of items you may have lost or destroyed. Money continued. When you are released from our custody, the balance of your account will be refunded to you in the form of a check. If you lose or do not cash this check and need a replacement check, you will be charged a fee for placing a stop payment order on the original check if you do not have the original. Inmate funds may not be transferred to another inmate's account or released to persons or services outside this facility. Cash is considered contraband and cannot be kept by any inmate. Personal property. Personal property and personal clothing will be stored by this facility until you release, or you may release it to someone of your choice, leaving one set of personal clothing to wear upon your release. Upon admission, you will be able to keep your underwear, t-shirt, no tank tops, socks, or a wireless bra as long as they are white. We have limited storage space, so if you are found to be in excess of personal property, you'll be given 10 days to make arrangements for someone to pick it up or it will be disposed of. All clothing and personal items will be released with you or destroyed after 10 days. It is your responsibility to make arrangements for someone to pick up your personal effects or mail said effects home within this time frame should you be sentenced or transferred to another facility. The Camden County Sheriff's Office is not responsible for the loss or theft of your personal property by your failure to gather your property when instructed to do so by staff, or your failure to contact someone to obtain your property after your release. Inmate issued clothing, linen, and bedding. Following your admission, shower, and search, you will be issued the following items. Black and white striped inmate uniform, which must be worn at all times, and the proper size will be determined by detention officers. Shower shoes, 1 towel and 1 washcloth, 1 blanket, 1 mattress, 1 drinking cup, 1 new inmate shower kit, 1 armband. All items must be returned in good condition before you leave, or you will be liable for their cost. Armbands. As part of the admission process, each new inmate will be issued an armband for personal identification purposes. This armband must be worn at all times. Failure to wear the armband may result in the loss of privileges such as church, visitation, library, and commissary. The cost for replacement will be $5 and it will be deducted from your commissary account. Classification. Each inmate will be assigned an initial classification based upon sex, status of the offense, violent nature of the offender, and other risk factors. Security. Inmates will be allowed to have in their possessions or housing area only authorized or issued items and materials. All other items and materials will be considered contraband and confiscated. Contraband. Any items not issued by the facility or available for purchase from the facility commissary is considered contraband and will not be allowed. Contraband also includes issued items that have been altered or issued items possessed in quantities greater than authorized. Postcards, legal, religious, and issued/authorized medical materials are not considered contraband if properly stored. All contraband will be confiscated and disposed of. Possession of contraband may result in disciplinary action and/or criminal charges. Detention officers. Detention officers are present to help you and answer questions you may have concerning institutional policies and procedures. Remember, detention officers are required to maintain order, therefore you are required to follow their instructions. If you wish to attract an officer's attention, please call him or her Sir or Miss. Conduct and responsibility of inmates. All inmates, regardless of their commitment status, are subject to the laws of the state of Georgia and the rules and regulations of the Camden County Public Safety Complex. All inmates are expected to obey the rules and regulations of this facility. Inmates will conduct themselves accordingly. The rules and regulations are divided into 3 categories. Minor violations. Acts which do not constitute a present and immediate threat to the security of the facility, inmates, visitors, or staff members. These violations shall include, but not be limited to, profanity, derogatory remarks, or gestures to any member of staff, visitors, or fellow inmates. Unnecessary noise such as arguing, pounding on doors or windows. Loud talking or unnecessary noise after lights out. Talking to persons outside recreation areas or outside the building. Failure to perform routine duties such as cleaning housing or common area and cell to which you are assigned. Horseplay, teasing, provoking, or verbally harassing another inmate, turning on or off, changing of channels, or in any shape or form tampering with the television. Failure to comply with lawful orders of staff members. Failure to maintain acceptable personal hygiene and appearance. Possession of unauthorized or excessive items or materials. Misuse or abuse of authorized items or materials. Disorderly conduct. Bartering, the unauthorized exchange or sale of any goods or services. Gambling, possession of money, currency, or securities, verbal or sign language, and unauthorized communication or material exchange between cell blocks. Major violations. Major violations shall include repeated minor rule violations and shall include, but not be limited to, repeated minor violations, disobeying an officer, lying to an officer, fighting, abusing or disrupting commissary, visitation, telephone, or recreational privileges, abusing or disrupting food, medical, or religious services, or any other facility programs, attempting to control the behavior of other inmates, assigning work to other inmates, placing any foreign matter or excessive materials into doors, toilets, sinks, or showers, writing or placing any items on walls or furniture, possession of any item not on the approved list of permitted items, entering an unassigned cell block, moving from one sleeping area to another without permission. Retention of food from meals, unauthorized absence from an assigned area, presence in an unauthorized area, damaged facility property of less than $100, misuse or abuse of authorized or unauthorized medications, tampering with any lock, locking device, electronic monitoring device, or security equipment hardware, misuse and abuse of issued or approved materials which hinders, inhibits, or interferes with safety equipment hardware, wearing a mask or a disguise, possession of any departmental property or equipment. Serious violations. Serious violations are such acts which are violations of statute, law, and/or present a threat to security in this facility. Such acts include, but are not limited to, repeated minor or major violations, assault on another inmate or staff member, threats, escape, attempting escape, or aiding another in escape attempts. Possession of any alcoholic beverages or unauthorized drug, including tobacco, theft, damage to facility property of over $100, possession of any weapons, chemical agents, or objects which have been modified that it may be used as a weapon, arson, participating or inciting a riot, interfering with the operation of any gates or doors, causing the bodily injury or death of any person, bribery, extortion or blackmail, sexual coercion or assault, administering a tattoo on another, or possessing tattoo paraphernalia. Penalties. In any disciplinary action, the problem may be settled by a verbal reprimand from a detention officer or a superior officer. If the situation is not settled verbally, then a disciplinary hearing may be held. Minor violations. Loss of privileges and/or isolation up to 168 hours, 7 days, or more. Privileges which may be suspended include Commissary, Visitation, Library and any other programs, telephone. Verbal reprimand. Major violations. Loss of privileges and/or isolation up to 336 hours, 14 days, or more. Privileges which may be suspended include Commissary, Visitation, Library and any other programs, telephone. Serious violations. Loss of privileges and/or isolation up to 722 hours, 30 days. Inmates placed in isolation for rule violations will have nothing furnished to them except their uniforms, meals, and required medical treatment for the duration of the isolation period. Emergency situations. In the event of any sudden disruptive situation within the facility, a general security lockdown and inmate count will be initiated. During any disruptive period or situation, you are instructed to remain calm within your assigned housing activity area and comply with the instructions or directions of the staff members exactly. Disciplinary hearings. An inmate accused of a rule violation will be brought forth for a disciplinary hearing. Disciplinary hearings will be held on the Friday following the violation. During this hearing, it will be decided by the jail administrator and/or chief jailer or their designee what disciplinary action is to be taken. An inmate has the right to remain silent, inform hearing officer of the names of witnesses, have an inmate or staff member assist the accused before and during the hearing. Authorization of hearing will be decided on a case-by-case basis by the jail administrator and/or chief jailer according to reasonableness of request. A copy of the rule violation report will be provided to the inmate accused of facility rule violations. The inmate may waive the hearing if he or she elects to do so. The hearing officer will ensure that the inmate has at least 24 hours to prepare for his or her defense in a disciplinary hearing. Hearings are held every Friday, excluding holidays. If it is determined that an inmate's behavior would be a problem or could be harmful to staff, a hearing will be conducted without the inmate's presence and a written report generated. The inmate will be allowed to specify no more than 2 inmates who may be witnesses for the inmate. The hearing officer may allow the witnesses to attend the hearing or elect to interview the witness before the hearing. The inmate is solely responsible for his or her defense and is not entitled to an attorney. The hearing officer determines if the inmate was guilty of the rules infraction and the sanctions given were appropriate. The hearing officer has total discretion in the changing of sanctions imposed based on the evidence and circumstances. The inmate may appeal the decision in writing within 2 business days. The jail administrator will review the hearing report and may question the inmate and/or others before giving a finding. The decision of the jail administrator on an appeal is final. Waiver of rights to hearing. An inmate may waive his or her rights to a disciplinary hearing in writing and accept the decision of the jail administrator or hearing officer. Inmate grievances. Any inmate shall be allowed to file a grievance when he or she believes that he or she has been subject to abuse, harassment, or abridgment of civil rights or unjust denial of facility privileges. Grievances may be filed by writing your concern on an informal grievance form provided upon your request. You must include your full name and housing assignment on your grievance. Please leave the case number blank. It is assigned by the grievance coordinator. All grievances will be distributed and collected each weekday by the shift officers and forwarded to the grievance coordinator. The grievance coordinator will review, investigate the complaint, and return a copy of the written response of what action was taken to the complaining inmate. The original will be filed in records retention for at least 3 years. Group grievances will not be reviewed or responded to. Only individual grievances will be answered. Multiple grievances filed on the same subject will not be answered. Grievances must be restricted to incidents which occur in the custody of the facility. All inmates' complaints are grievable, except complaints against decisions and procedures of the Board of Pardons and Paroles, disciplinary actions, and classification decisions. Before using the formal grievance process, all inmates should document efforts for resolution of grievance issues on an informal basis. Malicious or frivolous grievances may subject the inmate to criminal, civil, or disciplinary action, including assessment of restitution for incurred investigative costs. The inmate grievance system is not required as a matter of constitutional law, but is provided as an aid to inmates and management to resolve conflict and problems. All grievances shall be forwarded to the grievance coordinator with any corroborating evidence in a sealed envelope within 7 working days of an incident. The grievance coordinator should respond to emergency grievances as soon as possible, at the latest within 3 to 5 days depending upon the nature of the urgent matter, excluding weekends and holidays from the date it was received. All other grievances should be responded to within 10 days excluding weekends and holidays. Wake-ups. Wake-up will be at 5 a.m. each morning. All cell lights in the pod will be turned on and the door to your individual cell will be unlocked at that time, unless you are in special management segregation. Lockdown and lights out. Lockdown begins promptly at 10:45 p.m. when the day room lights flash. Televisions are turned off and inmates are lined up in front of their cells for a formal head count prior to being locked down for the night. If applicable, once count has cleared, those individuals assigned to daybed bunks may clean the day room area and are to retire to their bunks by 12 a.m. You may only leave your day bunk to use the restroom. Cell block lights will be turned off at 12 a.m. Failure to comply with the above procedure could result in an entire cell block losing day room privileges for up to 24 hours. Roll call. Roll call may be conducted at various times. When roll call is announced, all inmates are to stand in front of their assigned cell or day room bunk completely dressed until dismissed by a detention officer. No talking. Mail procedures. Incoming or outgoing mail shall be processed for regular distribution daily, Monday through Friday. Jail personnel will not retain an inmate's incoming or outgoing mail for more than 24 hours or pre-approved packages for more than 48 hours, excluding weekends and holidays. All incoming mail will be inspected for contraband, but will not be censored. Inmates who do not have their facility issued identification will not receive any incoming mail addressed to them. Incoming mail with no return address will not be delivered and will be destroyed. Incoming mail addressed to an inmate that is no longer at this facility will be returned to sender. All incoming mail will be distributed and all outgoing mail will be collected at lockdown only. Incoming mail. All incoming mail, except legal mail and other specifically approved items, must be in metered or pre-stamped postcard form. All postcards shall contain the inmate's name and return address as follows. Inmate's full name, Camden County Public Safety Complex, P.O. Box 520, Woodbine, Georgia 31569. Acceptable postcard forms. Postcard minimum size requirements are 3.5 inches by 4.25 inches. Postcard maximum size requirements are 4.25 inches by 6 inches. Must be written in blue or black ink only. Postcards must be white in color and be either metered or contain a pre-printed stamp. Unacceptable postcard forms. Defaced or altered postcards. Plastic wrappings on postcards. Postcards marked with paint, crayon, or markers. Postcards with labels or stickers. Postcards with watermarks or stains. Postcards with any biohazards including perfumes or lipstick. Postcards depicting nudity, weapons, or gang references. Postcards containing an affixed stamp. Inmates may receive softcover books shipped directly from a publisher or book company. However, the ordering, purchasing, and payment for these shall be the sole responsibility of the inmate's family or friends, with the understanding that the inmate it is intended for will have the first opportunity to read it first, knowing that it must be donated to the Camden County Sheriff's Office Library upon completion of being read. Books will only be accepted by donation, softcover only. Reading materials containing the following shall be deemed inappropriate and shall be returned to the sender. Content contains pictures that depict sexual activity or visibly exposes the breast, pubic area, or buttocks. It contains information of escape plots, riots, or other disorder or plans to violate rules or laws. It contains threats, extortion, or obscenity. It contains gang signs or codes. It contains information that advocates or describes the killing of law enforcement personnel. It contains plans for production of any explosive, incendiary, or pyrotechnic device. It contains writings that would inflame or contribute to the tension between ethnic groups and threaten the safety, security, or order of the facility. Outgoing mail. All outgoing non-privileged mail shall be in approved postcard form. All outgoing legal mail will be clearly marked as such on the outside of the envelope. Outgoing legal mail will be verified to be such prior to leaving this facility. Outgoing legal mail will only be opened in the presence of the inmate when clear and convincing evidence of a security breach establishes good cause. There are no limitations on the amount of legal mail that can be sent or received by an inmate in this facility. Legal mail. All mail either to or from any licensed attorney, elected official, or governmental agency and marked legal mail will only be opened in the presence of the inmate and inspected for contraband. The inspection is strictly for the purpose of ensuring that contraband is not being sent into the facility and shall be done in such a manner so as not to violate the confidentiality of the communication. Legal mail will not be read. Incoming legal mail will be signed for by the inmate to whom it is addressed. The inmate will be escorted to the jail sergeant's office where he or she will sign for and receive the legal mail from jail administration. For outgoing legal mail, the inmate must advise an officer that he or she wishes to send out legal mail. The officer must witness the inmate place the legal mail in the envelope to ensure there is no contraband, and then the inmate will seal the envelope. At that time, the officer is to immediately mark the envelope as legal mail. On the back of the envelope, the officer is to initial it along with their badge number to ensure that it was witnessed being sealed in an officer's presence, which will also alert any other officer that the process has been done correctly. If it has been initialed by an officer with badge number, then it may be placed in the correct location to make its way through the postal system. If it has not been initialed, it is to be returned to the inmate unopened and will not go out until the inmate properly submits it correctly. Once sealed, it is never to be reopened. Periodicals by mail or packages. Daily newspapers and magazines will not be accepted due to the security of the complex. Inmates will be allowed to receive packages by mail only under extreme circumstances. A request will need to be submitted 2 weeks in advance, advising the circumstances of said request and the following: from whom and from where the package is coming, when the package is mailed, identify the contents of the package. The request for the package must be approved by jail administration. Restrictions on non-privileged mail. Inmates are only allowed to have 3 softcover books, including religious books, and 20 postcards in their possession at any time. Any additional items are considered a fire hazard or contraband and shall be confiscated and destroyed. There are no restrictions on the number of postcards inmates can mail out, providing they have sufficient materials to do so. Fire hazard. Postcards are restricted to no more than 20 due to fire and safety hazards. Inmates will be allowed to keep legal mail as long as they keep them neat and do not become a hazard to the safety of the jail. Food services. Food service will be provided in the inmate day room 3 times a day. Inmates are required to report to the dining area at the assigned time, forming a single line according to cell assignment at the door behind the guard line. 1 inmate at a time will step up to the guard line to receive his or her meal. Upon receiving your tray, you will move to a table for consumption of the meal. If there is an issue with the tray provided, report it before you leave the line. When the meal is completed, you are to empty your tray of excess food and trash in the garbage can and neatly stack the trays next to the door for collection. If the inmate refuses to comply with the service procedure, this will constitute a nonverbal refusal of the meal. It is your responsibility to line up when meal service is announced. The detention officers or kitchen staff will not wake you for meals and will not come back to the cell block once they have completed serving the inmates who were in line. Any inmate missing a meal for oversleeping will forfeit that meal. Inmates missing meals due to court appearances, visits by attorneys, or other assigned duties will be fed as soon as possible. Armbands must be worn. Conduct in the day room must be exceptional. No obscenities or loud talking will be permitted. The meal served is to be eaten the day it is served. Inmates are not to take parts of their meal back to their cell area and store food. Detention officers will destroy any food served from our kitchen found stored in the cell. Breakfast is at 5:30 a.m., lunch is at 11:30 a.m., and dinner is at 5 p.m. Indoor exercise. Indoor exercise such as sit-ups and push-ups are allowed indoors provided they are done on the lower level. The tables in the day room, the stairs, bunks, shower bar, and other items or fixtures in the cell block are not to be used to assist in any exercise. Cell doors. The cell doors are controlled by the rear pod. Items may not be hung in doorways or placed in the locking mechanisms. If you place anything in the locking mechanisms, you may incur a new charge, fine, and/or placed in isolation. Day room / activity room. The day room / activity room is defined as that area between the cell block door and the first step of the stairwell. There will be no loitering behind the stairwell nor on the second floor cell block area. Blankets are not allowed outside of your assigned sleeping area. Razors. Razors will be issued on Tuesday and Friday. Each inmate issued a razor will be accountable for its return. Razors will also be issued prior to court appearances. Razors are for shaving only. They may not be used for cutting hair. Taking apart a razor for any purpose is a serious disciplinary offense and will be dealt with accordingly. Clothing for court appearances. Clothing for court appearances will be accepted during normal business hours, Monday through Friday, from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. Inmates are required to wear issued clothing to bond hearings, preliminary hearings, or arraignments where no jury is present. Any clothing accepted for court appearances must be sent home immediately after the court case has been settled. Telephone. A collect call only telephone is located in each cell block. Inmates may use this phone to call attorneys, family members, or friends, and for family emergencies. Prepaid minutes may be purchased by your family or friends through Amtel, or you may purchase a phone card from the commissary office for $21. All phone calls will be made on the phone in the cell blocks. There are no unauthorized exceptions. Commissary. The Camden County Jail subcontracts inmate commissary for the benefit of the inmates. Items may be ordered using funds credited to the inmate's account. Food items are limited to $40 each week. There is no limit on clothing or hygiene items purchased. Once submitted, commissary orders cannot be changed. All sales are final. Sales tax is added to the prices on the order form. Each housing unit will have an opportunity to order items from the commissary once per week. Commissary order requests are passed out each Sunday evening. A staff member will collect the order forms each Monday morning for processing. You must have your commissary order form filled completely and correctly, or your order will not be filled. Inmates must have funds in their account to purchase items ordered. Commissary items are received on Thursday afternoon and distributed within 24 hours. Inmates who do not have their facility issued identification will not receive any commissary order they may have placed. Inmates must sign a receipt acknowledging they have received their order. Damages or shortages must be identified upon delivery. If you are released before receiving your order, you will have 5 days to claim your order. Orders left beyond that time will be destroyed or donated to charity. Indigent packs are provided to inmates without money for sanitation and hygiene products. The cost of the indigent packs will be recovered if money is placed in your account. Inmates will not be allowed to purchase items from the commissary if they owe the jail money for medical visits or medication, or when ordered to make restitution for damaging county property. Uniforms. Inmates housed in a cell block housing area must be fully and properly dressed in their county-issued uniform when outside their individual cell. This includes wearing a shirt. Inmate uniforms will be changed twice per week on Mondays and Thursdays. Inmates will line up single file at the door of their cell block. Each inmate will receive their uniform and change in their individual cell and then bring back the soiled one for the officer. Detention officers and not the inmate will determine the correct uniform size. Inmates absent from their cell block at the time of uniform exchange will be given the opportunity to exchange uniforms as soon as practical upon their return. Laundry. At the time inmates are transferred to the housing unit, they will receive a mattress and a bedroll. Each bedroll will contain one net bag, one mattress, one blanket, one towel, one washcloth, and one hygiene kit. It is the inmate's responsibility to inspect each item to ensure each item is present and in good condition. If an item is missing or damaged, the inmate must notify a detention officer immediately. Inmates are responsible for all items they have been issued and may be charged for issued items found to be damaged, stolen, or lost. Blankets will be exchanged/washed on the first and third Saturdays of the month. Upon being notified of a blanket exchange or wash cycle, inmates should immediately obtain this item and line up single file at their cell block door. The sheets/blankets will be exchanged on an item-for-item basis if available. If not, they will be collected, washed, and returned. Inmates absent from the cell block at the time of this exchange/pickup will be given the opportunity to exchange as soon as practical upon their return. Net bags with personals, towels, and washcloths will be collected nightly after lockdown. It is the inmate's responsibility to ensure the net bag's opening is secure. The Sheriff's Office will not be responsible for items being lost due to bags coming open during the washing process. Net bags will be returned by the next morning. Care of living areas. Each inmate is responsible for cleaning their assigned cell in the commons area of the cell block. Cleaning supplies will be provided to each cell block at least twice daily, once between 6 and 8 a.m. and once between 10 and 11:45 p.m. Beds must be made by 9 a.m. each day and remain made until after the evening meal. This does not restrict you from lying or sitting on your bed. However, rooms will remain in order at all times. The television in the cell block will be turned off until the cleaning supplies are removed. All inmates in the cell block are expected to participate in cleaning their individual cell and commons area. This includes sweeping and mopping floors, ensuring trash is in proper containers, cleaning sinks, showers, and toilets. The commons area is to include the stairs and the area on the upper level outside the rooms. The tables on the lower level are to be cleaned and kept neat. Games, cards, and puzzles must be properly stored when not in use. Nothing is to be posted or hung on the walls, vents, windows, light fixtures, doors, or sprinkler heads. Anything posted on these items previously mentioned will be considered contraband and will be confiscated and destroyed. Cell searches or inspections may be conducted at any time. The floors and walls in the shower are to be scrubbed daily. Housekeeping violations may result in loss of privileges and lockdown status. Stairs and rails. Sitting, leaning, standing, or loitering on stairs or behind stairs or on upper level behind the rails is prohibited. No objects of any type may be hung from rails or placed on stairs. The stairwell will not be blocked. Tobacco products. All tobacco products and items associated with tobacco use are strictly prohibited. Law Library. A law library will be maintained by the Camden County Sheriff's Office for inmates who do not have an attorney. This library is not for personal use, such as writing letters to friends, etc. Inmates ordered by the court to proceed pro se will be given first priority in scheduling attendance. Copies of books, material contained in the library, and personal papers will not be made. Inmates qualified to visit the library must submit a written request for approval. The law library is open to males on Friday nights from 9:30 to 10:30 p.m. and for females on Saturday nights from 9:30 to 10:30 p.m. Inmate-to-inmate communication and visits. Detention officers are not allowed to pass notes, letters, commissary items, or anything else from one inmate to another. Any correspondence between inmates must be made through the U.S. postal system. Inmates are not allowed to visit other inmates. All inmate-to-inmate communication via the mail must be approved by the detention administrator and/or his designee, including mailing between other federal, state, and local institutions. Inmate movement inside the facility. When inside the confines of your cell block, all inmates will be given the opportunity 3 times a day, approximately at the following times: 6 a.m. breakfast, 11 a.m. lunch, 5 p.m. dinner. During these times, all doors need to be opened and inmates lined up for head count as usual. Once count has cleared and meals have served, inmates are to decide whether or not they would like to remain in their rooms or stay in the day room. Trays will be collected and all cell doors secured. All bedding is to remain in the rooms with the exception of those on day beds. If inmates need to shower, they need to make sure they grab all hygiene products at these times. Once doors are closed, they will remain closed until the next scheduled time. Trustees are to be given the opportunity to shower at any time during the hours from 6 a.m. until 11 p.m. When outside the confines of your cell block, all inmates will walk in an orderly, single-file fashion along the wall to your right. Down the hall, you will walk inside the red line. There will be no talking whatsoever except to staff members. Showers and haircuts. Showers are permitted during day room cell access hours. Inmates must be fully dressed while walking to and from the showers. Inmates will have access to get a haircut on a daily basis. Haircuts are standard. Styling is not available. Exceptions may be made if the inmate is scheduled for court appearances for a jury trial. Fingernail clippers will be distributed once a week. They must be clipped to the fingertip length and kept clean. False fingernails are not allowed. You are responsible for your own personal hygiene. Outdoor recreation. Recreation periods will be provided on weekdays, excluding holidays, weather permitting. Each block will be assigned a different day for a 1-hour period sometime after lunch. The recreation period includes travel to and from the recreation yard. If you choose to participate in outdoor recreation, please note that once you are escorted to the recreation yard, the door will be closed for that hour. You will not have access to come in and out as you wish. Each cell block will have equal access to the recreation yard when weather permits. Missed time will not be made up. Inmates who participate in outdoor exercise will abide by the rules of the recreation yard. Recreation yard rules are as follows. Inmates will wear t-shirts, including shoes, during exercise yard use. No personal items are allowed on the recreation yard, i.e. bedding, cards, cups, etc. No climbing or hanging on the walls of the recreation yard. Littering on the recreation yard is not permitted. Any inmate vandalizing the recreation yard will be subject to temporary or permanent disciplinary sanctions and/or criminal prosecution as provided by law. No confrontations, regardless of severity, will be tolerated. This includes physical or verbal disputes. In the event of a confrontation, regardless of the severity, inmates will move immediately to a designated area and remain there until further advised by a detention officer. In the event of a medical emergency, all inmates will move to an area by a detention officer and remain there until further advised by an officer. Transfer to and from the recreation yard will be in a quiet and orderly fashion. When an officer advises inmates that the recreation period is over, all inmates will immediately line up to return to their cell block. Chaplain services. Inmates will be allowed visits with ministers of their choosing at normal times. No inmate will be refused the opportunity to visit with ministers. Your personal minister is welcome to visit provided he or she has the proper identification. Visitation. Inmates will be allowed visitation unless privileges have been restricted for disciplinary reasons. Visitation is compiled by the last name of the inmate. Last names beginning A through M will have visitation on Saturdays between the hours of 12:30 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. and last names beginning N through Z will have visitation on Sundays between the hours of 12:30 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. There will be no visitation during the week or on holidays unless the holiday falls on a weekend. Each inmate will be allowed a list of 4 pre-approved visitors. Anyone not listed will not visit. No exceptions. Each inmate is allowed a maximum of 3 visitors on their designated visitation day. Visits last a maximum of 15 minutes. There are absolutely no contact visits allowed. No children under the age of 14 are allowed. Anyone ages 14 to 17 must be able to prove their age, picture identification, birth certificate, etc., and be accompanied by an adult, preferably a parent or guardian. All visitors must have a picture identification. There will be no property taken. The only item that will be taken is money for inmate accounts. Do not list anyone that is a victim in your current pending case as a visitor. They will not be allowed to visit by state law. Your visitor list is incorporated into the booking intake process. You must list up to 4 visitors at that time. Any list submitted after intake will not be accepted. Changes to your visitor list may be made quarterly, every 3 months. That means changes can be made in January, April, July, and October, and must be within the first 10 days of the month, or it will not be accepted. To receive visitation, you, as the inmate, will be properly dressed and have the facility issued identification ready for verification by a detention officer. If you cannot present the proper facility issued identification, you will be denied your visit. It is the responsibility of the inmate to notify his or her visitors and so as to avoid any confusion, inconvenience concerning travel and schedule of the following. Proper dress is required, i.e. no shorts or skirts, no strapless dresses, no tank tops, no halter tops, no clothing which exposes the bare midriff, nothing tight-fitting, no clothing with obscene or vulgar writing or pictures in shoes must be worn. The detention supervisor's decision is final regarding the appropriateness of clothing worn by the visitor. No food or drink items will be given to inmates or taken into the visitation room. Purses, pagers, cell phones, and other personal items, with the exception of keys, will be left in the visitor's vehicle prior to visitation. Personal items of visitors will not be the responsibility of the detention personnel. A visit may be ended at any time if the inmate or visitor becomes disruptive during the visit and may temporarily or permanently be banned from future visits depending upon the severity of the disruption. All visitors are subject to search by means of an electrical wand. No visitors will be admitted that are intoxicated or appear to be under the influence of alcohol or drugs and may be subject to arrest. Any inmates or visitors defacing the walls, benches, or counters in the visitation room may be subject to charges of damaging government property and will not be allowed to return to visitation. Failure to comply with any visitation rule or verbal order of a detention officer will result in immediate termination of the visit and the temporary or permanent barring of the visitor from further visitation. Legal representation. All inmates at the Camden County Jail have the right to be represented by an attorney. Those inmates who have requested the court-appointed attorneys will be notified of the name and phone number of the attorney as soon as the appointment is made. Public defender forms may be obtained at bond hearings or through detention personnel. Medical services. The Camden County Jail subcontracts the jail medical service. Inmates must report any illness or injury to a detention officer as soon as possible. All emergencies must be reported at once. In the event of a medical emergency, all inmates will follow the directions given by a detention officer. A medical request form will be provided upon request. Inmates with medical complaints must complete the form and state their complaint, or the medical staff will not see them. Illiterate inmates may notify a detention officer who will assist them in completing the form. Sick call forms are distributed by detention officers nightly, Sunday through Thursday, and are collected only by the medical staff every morning. Sick call is generally conducted 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Filling out multiple requests for the same illness is not necessary and will not expedite the waiting period. Inmates must be available for sick call when their name is announced. Detention officers will not wake you for sick call and will not come back to your cell block once they have completed sick call for other inmates in your cell block. The medical staff will evaluate the submitted requests on a daily basis. If, after being examined by medical personnel and he or she finds that you need more extensive care, he or she will refer you to either of the following: a physician, a dentist, a psychiatrist, or a psychologist. Under Georgia law, you will be charged a fee each time you request or receive medical services. These charges include, but are not limited to, examination by a nurse or facility physician, psychological counseling, HIV testing, and dental services. Additionally, you may be charged for all expenses incurred as a result of you being in any altercation or causing injury to yourself or someone else. These charges may include all hospital expenses and costs associated with further care or treatment by a specialist. If you have medical insurance, your insurance carrier may be charged for the actual cost of the medical care you receive. You cannot and will not be denied medical care because you have no insurance or money with which to pay for such care. If acquitted of your charges, you may receive a refund of your medical charges. It is your responsibility to provide the Camden County Sheriff's Office with the official certification as to the fact that you were acquitted of all charges or otherwise exonerated in order for consideration to receive a refund of medical charges. A refund cannot be obtained for a plea of nolo contender or when you are placed under the First Offender Act. Medical deductions will be maintained for a period of time after release. If there is a balance owed, it may be assessed at any subsequent incarceration. Medication. Prescription medication will be dispensed as directed, morning, noon, and evening. All medication will be dispensed as prescribed by the facility physician or nurse. When pill call is announced, it is the inmate's responsibility to respond to the cell door in a timely manner and stand in line. A detention officer will not personally wake inmates to receive his or her medication. Inmates must be properly dressed to receive their medication and be wearing their facility-issued identification. Inmates are required to take all their medication in the presence of a staff member. Inmates may purchase some non-prescription medications, such as Tylenol, from the commissary or complete a request for medical service form and receive non-prescription medication during pill call. Should you elect to complete the request for medical services form and receive non-prescription medication, you will be charged for purchasing the medication from the facility. Psychological and substance abuse services. Psychological and substance abuse services are offered through the Camden County Mental Health Center. Any inmate who requests these services is to complete a medical request form to be forwarded and collected by medical personnel. Dental health. Dental services are available for urgent care and pain management only. Examples include, but are not limited to, cracked tooth, swelling, abscesses, and infections. Dental cleaning, cosmetic, or preventive dental care is not provided. Requests for dental care should be forwarded to the medical personnel on a medical request form. This concludes the Inmate Handbook. Please be aware that rules and regulations are subject to change at any time for the safety and security of the facility, officers, and/or inmates. If at any time you have questions regarding the Inmate Handbook, please direct your questions to a detention officer. Thank you.